For the first 30 seconds of this video, you are about to hear a disturbing summary of everything that awaits you, because this story is not just about a fictional killer with knives, 4 fingers, but about a nightmare that refuses to stay on the screen, a legend that seeps into real fears, shared experiences, and unsettling patterns that suggest Freddy Krueger never truly stopped haunting dreams, never truly faded into fiction, and never truly lost his grip on the collective subconscious of those who sleep with the lights off. Because tonight, we will explore the origins, the psychological horror, the strange coincidences, the recurring dream reports, and the chilling idea that Freddy Krueger may be less a character and more a doorway into something far darker, something that continues long after the movie ends. Freddy Krueger was never meant to be comforting, never meant to be simple entertainment, and never meant to feel safe. Because from the moment he first appeared, burned, smiling, and waiting inside the fragile space between sleep and death, he represented something deeply primal. The fear that even rest is not safe. The fear that closing your eyes is an invitation, and the fear that dreams can turn against you without warning. Unlike monsters that attack in the daylight or villains that can be escaped by running faster or hiding better, Freddy existed in a place where everyone must eventually go, a place where control dissolves and the mind becomes vulnerable, and that ideal alone was enough to leave scars that lasted far beyond the credits. What makes Freddy Krueger truly unsettling is not just his appearance or his cruelty, but the way his myth grew alongside real human experiences. Because over the years, countless fans reported dreams that felt too vivid, too structured, and too similar to be dismissed as coincidence. Dreams where hallways stretched endlessly, where lights flickered, where footsteps echoed behind them, and where a familiar silhouette appeared before panic snapped them awake in a cold sweat. These were not casual nightmares, but recurring patterns. Dreams that returned night after night, evolving, learning, and adapting, much like Freddy himself was said to do. Psychologists often explain recurring nightmares as manifestations of unresolved stress or trauma, but Freddy Krueger occupies a strange position even within that explanation. Because he was specifically designed to invade the subconscious, to become memorable, to leave an imprint strong enough that the brain could not easily shake him off. This means that once Freddy enters the imagination, he tends to linger, resurfacing when the mind is weak, during exhaustion, illness, anxiety, or moments of emotional vulnerability, creating the disturbing impression that he waits patiently for the right moment to return. The case that never ended begins here, in the realization that Freddy Krueger did not remain confined to fiction, but became a shared nightmare symbol, a mental parasite that feeds on fear, recognition, and repetition. When enough people imagine the same monster, dream about the same claws, and wake up with the same racing heart, the line between story and experience begins to blur, and that blur is where the real horror takes root. Throughout the years, stories emerged of people who had never watched the films, yet described similar dream figures, tall silhouettes, burned faces, distorted laughter, and the sensation of being trapped inside their own dreams, unable to wake up despite knowing they were dreaming. These accounts fueled unsettling theories that Freddy Krueger functions like a modern nightmare archetype, a shape the mind instinctively gives to fear when sleep paralysis, night terrors, or lucid dream failures occur. Sleep paralysis itself adds another layer of terror to the legend. Because during these episodes, victims often report seeing shadow figures, feeling pressure on their chest, and sensing a hostile presence nearby, experiences that align disturbingly well with the idea of Freddy watching, waiting, and slowly approaching while the body refuses to move. For many, the first name that comes to mind during such episodes is Freddy Krueger. Not because he is real in a physical sense, but because he has become the face fear wears in the dark. As technology advanced, forums and online communities began sharing these experiences, unknowingly reinforcing the myth, giving it new energy, new relevance, and new victims, because the more people read about others dreaming of Freddy, the more likely they were to dream of him themselves. This feedback loop transformed Freddy into something more than a character, turning him into a cultural nightmare virus that spreads through awareness alone. What makes the case truly unsettling is the way Freddy adapts across generations, because even younger audiences who had never experienced the original films report dream figures that resemble him, sometimes without knowing his name, sometimes only discovering the connection later and feeling a sudden wave of dread as everything clicks into place. This suggests that Freddy Krueger has transcended his original story and become a symbol embedded deep within the collective imagination. Nightmares featuring Freddy often follow a pattern of false awakenings, where the dreamer believes they have woken up only to realize they are still trapped. A technique famously associated with his kills, reinforcing the idea that escape is an illusion and that safety is temporary. These dreams often end abruptly, leaving the sleeper exhausted, shaken, and afraid to fall back asleep, exactly the kind of fear Freddy was designed to provoke. Over time, Freddy Krueger became a representation of guilt, punishment, and buried trauma. Themes that resonate universally and allow the character to persist regardless of era or culture. He is the embodiment of consequences, chasing the vulnerable of the past, refusing to stay buried, and of fear taking control when defenses are down. The case never ended because Freddy never needed to exist physically to succeed. He only needed to exist mentally, and once planted, he grows stronger with every retelling, every late-night viewing, every whispered warning about falling asleep too soon. He survives in dreams, in half-remembered images. And in that brief moment before sleep when the mind wanders into dangerous territory, Freddy Krueger is still haunting dreams not because he is alive, but because fear is alive, and fear remembers him. As long as people dream, as long as nightmares exist, and as long as stories are told in the dark, Freddy will continue to return, sharpening his claws inside the imagination, waiting for the next mind to wander too far into sleep. If this story kept you watching until the end, if it made you think twice before closing your eyes tonight, then make sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, sharing your thoughts or experiences. And share this video with someone who believes nightmares end when you wake up, because some stories refuse to stay asleep.